Hello, everybody. Reggie Time here, and in just a moment, I'm going to take a look at a bunch of hands I marked from my play yesterday on some 25 speed poker games. I wasn't going to record this, but it's work I'm going to do anyway. So that why not just record it? Who cares? If it's not a popular video, it doesn't fucking matter. I really couldn't give a shit. It's work I'm doing anyway, so why not record it? Then anyone who's interested can watch it, and anyone who isn't can get on with the day doing something else. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. This first hand, we have ace three of hearts on the button. Um, I remember this hand specifically, and this player seemed on the more active side based on what I'd seen. I didn't have any HUD stats, but my impression was he was relatively active. And we had a player in the big blind who isn't fully stacked, who by default assumption is when I see that is probably a losing player, more likely to be on the passive side, etc. So I decided to flat this on the button. Apparently, according to Mr. Solver, this is a 3-bet 90% of the time and a flat just 10%. According to the ranges I use, of course, your solver might tell you something different depending on how you've configured it. But I don't really care about that. Yeah, we've missed an obvious 3-bet. I'm fine with that. We've got position, we've got the button. So we've got the button, we've got a nutmaker, we've got a fish in the blind. So I'm not that bothered. But it might mean the rest of the running the rest of the solve is a bit shitty because we made a very low frequency play pre-flop. So we get the 5 deuce 6 flop. Let's just put this stuff into the solver. So big blind's folded, and then the flop has come 5 deuce 6 of spades. Villain's about to check to us, and I elected to go with around just under 1/3 pot size bet. Ace 3 suited is meant to bet here. And yeah, cool. We got that right. According to my sims, the ones I'm running, the sims I'm looking at, this is correct. Happy days. Always nice to get something right. And Villain responds with a raise to 8.24 big blinds. Now, the closest I can get to in this is 7.55. And then we're supposed to defend ace 3 suited pure. So that's what we do. Happy days. We're in business. We might have been in a bit of a weird node before the flop in terms of like low frequency call, but now we're in the game. Turn is ace of clubs. And villain now checks. What are we supposed to do with our ace 3? Check or bet small mostly. I elected to check this time. And the river is the 8 of diamonds. Let me just put all this information in. Check, check. 8 of diamonds on the river. Villain now overbets for whatever that is. 133%, something like that was the closest we got in here. We only got 150 in here, so that's what we're going to have to put in. And we sometimes call, sometimes jam. And I did call, so happy days. Post-flop, I like to think I played that really quite well. Pre-flop was a touch marginal, but I'll give myself a pass on that one. Villain turned up with just some absolute random bluff. Is he ever meant to have that hand? Not that I can see. Yeah, very small amount of the time he's meant to have that hand. Who knows? But we're not here to analyse Villain's hands. We're here to analyse, like, did I play my hand at least okay or not? And outside of pre-flop, which was a low frequency call, post-flop, we played that well. So happy days. I'll absolutely take that all day. It's not that I'm trying to play like a solver, but when I'm playing against players I'm not familiar with or I don't have reads on, then I guess we want to see at least how close to theory we're playing. You know, because it's hard to exploit people if you don't know much about them. So yeah, I don't want to be deviating too far from the theory without a good reason. But obviously, I don't know what theory looks like in every spot because I'm not a fucking machine. So it's just good to see how instinctively close I'm getting in some spots. On to the next hand. We open Queen 10 suited hijack, obviously completely standard. Get called by the big blind. So we've opened big blind is called. And the floppers come deuce of diamonds, 7 of hearts, 4 of clubs. Big blind checks. We're supposed to bet this flop 47% with our range and with our actual hand. Queen 10 suited in diamonds, check 19%, and then various different bets. So let's see what Reg did. I went for the low frequency check. Now I know why I do this on like in these boards that are like quite a few low cards, etc. I'm always worried that we're just big blinds gonna find quite a few check raises, and I prefer to just delay c-bet and save my bluffing for later in the hand when I'm more competent villains checks out honest. We have 2 overs backdoor flush draw, so I guess we could bet here, but we can't bet call versus a raise. If we just check call, then there aren't that many good turn cards to barrel. So I prefer to delay my aggression till later streets, quite often in these spots. But we're still in the game because check back is a thing, a small percentage of the time. So we go check there, check. Turn is the jack of diamonds. And villain leads out for, I want to say 2/3 pot. So we'll go with that size for villain. And we're supposed to respond. Queen 10 of diamonds is supposed to respond here by calling half the time and raising half the time, raising like 4x is size. So we either call here or we like to see ourselves raise. I call, which we're still in the game. And the river is a 9 of hearts. Villain now bets half pot. And are we ever bluffing here? Because I remember this hand and I did elect to bluff. No, we're just folding pure. It's an absolute pure fold with our hand. I decided to do that. And my reasons for doing this were basically, I don't have any showdown value, of course. I think villain's sizing isn't that convincing that he's super strong. You know, I typically associate, when I see villains like turn up with value in these spots, or quite strong value, mostly they're turning up with larger sizes. A half pot size, I thought made him look a little bit weak. And obviously, I thought he had like a better hand than Queen 10, but maybe some like weak Jack X, maybe some 7X that was just dicking around. I don't know. This is clearly a theoretical punt from me, and probably a punt in practice, but I don't think this guy's got 2 pair plus. And it's a tough spot with 1 pair, even though we don't rep very much. You know, we block 10-8. Big deal. Shut up, Reg, with that shit, because you don't really know what you're fucking talking about with that there. This is definitely a theoretical punt. But it worked, so yay, go me. On to the next one. We have the 6-7 of spades. I remember this one too. This guy felt like he was one of the more aggressive players in the pool. I thought it was a fish at first, but then I was 3-tabling, and at one point I saw him all 3 tables at the same time. So I mean, he could still be a fish, but he's aggressive. He makes life difficult. But you know, I suspect he's maybe too aggressive. But I say that with caution because I haven't got that much info on him. But he does seem more active than most players in the pool. I noticed him more than other people. He was 3-betting more. He was 4-betting more. So why I chose to 3-bet him with 6-7 suited is fucking beyond me. This is just an ego thing. That's not to say this isn't a play. But against people who you think are going to 4-bet you more often than the rest of the pool, maybe we can save this one for people who we think might fold more. I don't like this play versus this particular player. It is in there at the tiniest frequency, so we're not out of the game in Solver World. But this against this player, this was ego from me. Simple as that. It was just an ego play of "fuck you, sir." I'm going to show you who the fucking daddy is around here. And he was like, "No, re-fuck you, sir. I'm the fucking daddy. Who's the daddy now?" As Ray Winston said in Scum, as he twatted somebody with a sock full of fucking snooker balls. A little bit of a reference for the older viewers there. When we 3-bet this time, we don't fold it, so we didn't fold. And we get to a flop. So we've got, we've raised the button. He's reaggressed. We've called, and his size is slightly out because it's overweighted bigger sizes from him. But I don't know what a smaller size from me, I think. So yeah. Anyway, Queen 6 10. We get this flop. Villain is meant to check this 51% of the time, which is what he does. And we are meant to, with our 6-7 suited, we're meant to check 54% and bet the rest of the time. Again, I take a passive option and elect to check back. Turn is a 7 of clubs. Villain now bets just over quarter pot. Closest I can get to here from him is 1/3 pot, so we'll put that in. And versus 1/3 pot, we are meant to, where are we at? 7-6 suited. We are meant to raise this pure to 33%, like raise him to, so raise small basically. He's meant to bet 1/3 on this turn, and we're meant to like have small raises. Obviously, I didn't know that at the time, and I don't think I made a blunder as such. But I did that, and I'll be honest with you, the reason why I did this was I kind of felt I shouldn't make this raise size. I was very confident we had to raise our hand, but I didn't have the confidence in game to like raise small like Silver wants to, because I didn't want him to call and then have to deal with shit rivers. This is a bad play by me. I did it for the wrong reasons. I knew it was a raise, but I went all in rather than raise smaller because I couldn't be asked dealing with, say, a 10 on the river, a queen on the river, a club on the river, an ace, a king, all hands that can improve him. And, I didn't want to deal with that. This is a bad play by me. This is something that when I am working with players, I tell them off for. I said, it's a bad play. I'm doing this in order to avoid a potentially tough situation in future spots. That's bad. It's shit. Even though I don't think going all in here is like completely terrible because he can definitely call us some worse hands. And Solver wants to raise his pure. He doesn't want to use his size. So yeah, naughty boy Reg. This guy ended up folding, so we won the pot. And I put this in because I kind of knew that I shouldn't jam, but I wanted to know how I should respond versus bet. And we respond by raising, just not by jamming. And yeah, that was naughty of me. So on to this next hand. We have ace king up in the big blind. Villain, don't remember this hand at all. No idea who this villain is. We 3-bet. So we don't have 2x here. We have 2.5x. Big blind's meant to 3-bet to 3 to 12 versus 2.5. I guess this is fine. 11 versus 2. Feels a bit big, but I know we're meant to go a bit bigger from the big blind. And villain calls. And we get an 8 of hearts. And then 7-3 of diamonds. I think I punted this one. I don't think I played this hand particularly well. Because I ended up c-betting big here, and I did it basically on the strength of this ace of diamonds. I haven't run this hand through the solver, but I'm pretty sure this is going to turn out to be a bit of a punt. I suspect we're meant to check this flop pretty decent amount of the time. It's going to be so condensed with pocket pairs. We're just not meant to c-bet very often. That the earlier the pre-flop raiser, the less likely, and then we 3-bet, the less frequently we're supposed to 3-bet, or at least I think that's how it, a c-bet, sorry. At least I think that's how it works. I think this is probably pretty fucking bad here from us. So let's get into it. Ace, king, offsuit with the ace of diamonds. How often does that want to bet? Oh, it's not doing. It's betting a fair amount. We're in the game here. Our exact hand here, the most popular c-bet size is 75%. Check 31%. C-bet the rest of the time, mixing between half pot and 3/4 pot. So actually, well played, Reggie. We're in the fucking game. I just presumed this was going to be a big fat punt, but apparently it isn't at the moment. Millen does call. We see a turn of 10 of hearts. And what am I supposed to do now with my ace king offsuit? Check pure. Check the lot. Literally check everything. Yeah, so this is where we do start punting. Because I elected to double barrel. This is naughty from me. This is bad. It's just flat out bad. This is me just not wanting to give up. It's a big mistake. When we get lucky because the opponent folds, if I remember correctly. But that is bad for me. So I thought flop was a punt. And then obviously if I thought flop was a punt, then barreling the turn's definitely a punt. As it turns out, flop wasn't a punt, but turn is. I'm not sure how much EV we're losing there, but probably quite a fucking lot, I would imagine. When we got away with it. But this is again, this is why I don't mind doing this right now. Again, I've like reignited my GTO Wizard subscription just for 1 month, I think, because I'm planning on. I've been playing quite a lot of speed poker this month. I'm going to do like a end of month review video tomorrow that'll go out whenever. And there's been quite a lot of speed poker in there, and I've been doing quite well. I think my hourly has been, comparing well to my hourly in on the soft site that I play on. So I thought, well, if you're going to be playing a bit more speed poker, trying to improve, trying to get better, because I've done a lot of work on my game this month again. I'll refer to that in the video I'm going to make tomorrow. But I've been working quite hard on my game in theory and like putting lots and lots of volume in. And I think if I'm going to play more speed poker next month, then which is the plan at the start of the which is going to be the plan at the start of the month, then we need to sharpen up. And I have been sharpening up quite a lot, to be fair. But this isn't sharp. This is just bullshit. On to the next hand. We have the ace king of clubs. Raise, call, squeeze to 12 bigs. Now, people might think this is a bit on the small side, but I'm pretty sure that if we're 3-betting, our size is going to be bigger than if we are squeezing. Which doesn't make sense to me, but when I was looking at something a while ago, last month sometime, I did notice that Solber's squeeze size is usually smaller than its 3-bet size. Let's see if I'm actually right here. So if hijack opens, we're supposed to raise to 12 from the big blind. When button comes in for a call, I could be talking bollocks because we're supposed to raise to 14. So that's just me misapplying something because we're supposed to like raise bigger here than we are versus 3-bet. I ended up just going 12. It's not a big deal, but something that he's bearing in mind. So now the original raiser folds and the button calls, which is interesting. And we get a 4 of clubs, deuce of hearts, 8 of hearts flop. And I am supposed to, with ace, king of clubs, he's supposed to check 54%, then do some betting for smallish sizes, are we? Check 54%, bet 1/3 18, bet half pot 21%, 75%. So we've got an array of sizes you don't choose when we do elect to bet. So it's hard to fuck this spot up basically at the moment. I do go with big bet, which is the lowest frequency. Go with 2/3, which yeah, it's low frequency, but we've done it. Villain calls. Turn is a 6 of hearts. So we ended up going here. We're going to have to use that size. Button calls. 6 of hearts turn. And we're just meant to just check the fucking lot here. We are meant to check the lot. I do check. Villain checks back. River is Queen of Diamonds. Do we revisit our bluffing? No, we don't. We just check again. Villain checks back. So yeah, that's okay. That hand's okay. Villain ends up having 7/7. I'm not sure why that was in for review, to be honest with you. Maybe just to do with like my flop sizing. I don't know. Don't know why that one was in for review, but we reviewed it and we didn't butcher it. On to this one, the ace 5 of diamonds, open under the gun, completely normal. Button call, and that's it. So we got under the gun open, button call, everyone else folds. We get a king, 10, king flop. We have the ace 5 of diamonds, which we are close to pure betting here for 1/3, which is just about what we do. So that's all good. Pretty easy start to the hand. Button calls. Turn is the 8 of diamonds. And I remember I elected to check here, thinking in general, this wasn't a great card for my rate, even though it's really good for our hand. My logic, because I remember this time, my logic was like, this is a bad turn card for our range, so therefore we should check at a very high frequency. Solver only wants to check 48% of the time here, so I'm a little bit wrong on that one. And it's almost never checking our hand here. It's only checking our hand 8.2%. So this is a pretty enormous mistake from me to check. But I did. That's what I did. And villain did check back. River is an offsuit 3. And now our ace 5 of diamonds is just betting 80% and over bets. We go with a size that's in and around that region. What's the best option available to us here? It has to be the 80% option. And villain now raises fucking huge. Raises to like 35 big blinds, which I can't emulate in here because Solver's only given us a smaller raise or an all-in size. So we're going to have to just go with this one. And what are we meant to do now with our ace 5 of diamonds? Just call all the time. Yeah, so I butchered this because I thought there was like very little chance villains were finding bluffs here. I ended up folding because I just didn't think population in general finds enough bluffs here. Who knows what slow plays they've got? Maybe they've slow played a full house on the flop, like pocket tens, king 10. Maybe they've turned a full house and slow played it. I doubt the threes changed very much, but maybe they've just had pocket threes with the diamond. Because to be fair, they might float flop with that turn check the river they've got there. Yeah, I just decided that very unlikely population does this without a full house, and I just folded. But in Solver World, that's a mistake. I think in the real world, maybe still a mistake, but much less of a mistake, in my opinion. So on to the next one. Button opens 2.5x. We have king 10 off in the big blind. I never 3-bet this hand, so I know I'm just going to call, but is that correct? Or is it okay? King 10 offsuit is a mix here. I literally never 3-bet it. Never. Not even close. Just never, 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 never. Which I don't think is a problem, but it's theoretically not correct. But we're in the game because we did call this time, and we are allowed to call here more than we're allowed to more than 3-bet. It's a slightly favours call over 3-bet. And we flopped 3 10s, so aren't we fucking geniuses? Flop comes down. Ace 10 10. Obviously, we don't have any leads here. Let's say we don't. Where are we at? We have 1.8% leads, but that's a check, isn't it? So we do check. Villain bets. We're going to call that 1/3, just for argument's sake. And do we have raises? King 10 offsuit. Do suits matter here? They probably do. What does our suit do exactly? Well, we got King of Hearts, 10 of clubs. This one calls 61% and raises small most of the rest of the time. I did go with the small raise. I'm happy with that. Villain calls. So, okay. So I go with the small raise. Button calls, and we move on to a turn card, which is 6 of diamonds. Bit of a bitch of a card. But we carry on betting our hand. And we carry on betting it. 1/3 pot, easily the most, we can just simplify to 1/3 pot. It's got some others, it's got a little bit of check and tiny bit of other sizes, but 1/3 pot for all intents and purposes. I elected to check, which isn't a mistake because it's in there 10%, but I know I'm doing it. I'm probably checking pure on the diamond. So this is a mistake from me. We apparently should just continue betting. But I didn't, so there you go. What are we going to do? I checked. Villain checked back. And then we had the Jack of Diamonds River, which felt like a total fucking disaster card. And King 10 off, it's barely there now. It's barely there anymore. But when we do get here this way, we just check 99% of the time. We check. Villain now bets 2/3 pot. What's the closest we can get to this? You're going to have to go 74%. And King 10 off. Our hand here. Calls 100% of the time, which seems very, very, very counterintuitive to me. It's just pure call in this. And I'm like, you want me? And I'm looking at this and I'm like, what are you talking about? Do you not know there's a 4 flush out there? I folded, of course, because I'm a nit. I'm very surprised that's a pure call. Very, very surprised. No idea what Villain's meant to be fucking bluffing with here, but we can investigate that. Villain's meant to be betting here with like some Jack 10 suited, Queen 10, it would be King 10, Ace 10, Pocket Queens is meant to be betting here sometimes. Ace Queen off's meant to be, these are going to be all with the diamond, aren't they, I guess. Try to see where his fucking bluffs are coming from. So his bluffs are coming from like under pairs, turn himself into, where are his bluffs coming? Straight flush, he's got quads, he's got full houses. So like his 25 to 50% equity hands, like his 10x that we're chopping with. King Queen offs in there. I don't fucking know. I could spend ages doing this, but it's not going to be much fun for a fucking video. But yeah, I guess here So I was finding bluffs that, in my opinion, humans aren't going to find very often. So even though we're meant to call 100%, I give myself a pass on that. It's a blunder theoretically. In practice, I don't hate it. So yeah, like GT always has a pretty cool spot thing where you can just like look at what Villain's Rage is meant to look like for betting. Because we're doing this on two separate monitors, we can't see it here, and because I do a bad job of analysing that, I'm not going to. But I do find that stuff really interesting. And it's interesting for ourselves when I miss a bluff. It's interesting to like look and be like, right, okay, well, what am I meant to be bluffing with here? What to solve a bluff with, and then not necessarily just try and emulate that, but then be like, well, okay, these are the types of properties that solver like that a solver likes its hand to have here when he does bluff, and just slowly but surely these things like start to sink in, and hopefully you find some of them in your game sometimes and apply them correctly. That's why I was looking at that then, but usually guys couldn't see it. So I decided not to go further down that rabbit hole, especially since I'm not particularly good at interpreting that information anyway at the moment. On to the next hand, ace 10 of spades. Button opens. Oh yeah, here. So buttons opening 2.5x. From the big blind. What are we doing with our range? Ace 10 suited, pure calling. So I 3-bet. This is a mistake from me. Now, there could have been a reason because I typically don't 3-bet this hand. So maybe there was something like this. I don't remember. But I'm surprised that I 3-bet here because it's just not something I do. And maybe occasionally 3-bet some ace 10 up, but almost never. Yeah, this is very unlike me, so there will have been a reason. Because I haven't been like tilting or anything in these games. I've been just playing really um, consistently in terms of mental game, which is a big breakthrough for me because most of the reason why I do shit in speed poker is due to mental game problems, um, as well as the fact that I'm not as good as I'd like to be, but still getting better. But yeah, this isn't something I normally do, so there will have been a reason for this. There was something about this player that's made me do this, because this is not good. Anyway, we do end up 3-betting a non-existent combo, so there's probably going to be, in fact, is there any point looking at this hand? Ace 10, yeah, we're in the game. It does 3-bet slightly, so we're not going to be like totally out of the game here, but it's a mistake. It's a pretty big blunder, this. We'll just call. Flop comes down 9, 4, 7. I wouldn't have continued reviewing this if this had like never 3-bet. I wouldn't have continued reviewing this. It's already a mistake. We're probably wasting our time reviewing it because it's such a low frequency 3-bet that it's just not going to matter very much. Reviewing the rest of the hand is just going to be like, right, okay, so you fucking messed up a little bit, Reg. But is there a way to get it about the mess? I guess that's what we're talking about here. Because that ace 10 suited now is just not in the mix. But when we have got the ace 10 of spades, we just check pure. I don't. Yeah, we're totally butchering this hand. We are completely butchering it. That's going to happen sometimes. That's fine. It's not fine that we're butchering it, but it's like whatever. We all do it from time to time. Calls. Turn is an offsuit 7. And now we're just totally in no man's land here. I mean, we're supposed to check pure with this with our hand. I do check. Villain now bets that size, and hopefully we fold. Yeah, that's just messed up pre-flop. And this is the problem. I was talking to somebody only yesterday about this, and the day before, I think, about there's very little point in reviewing spots that are non-existent to begin with, because you're just wasting your time and your energy. If you're like using something like GTO Wizard to review a hand, and you do something that you shouldn't do, it's like either incredibly low frequency or just not a thing, then don't waste your time reviewing the rest of the hand, because what's the fucking point? Just put it in the memory bank that, okay, I did this and this was such a big mistake. There's no point reviewing the rest of the hand, because what's the point? Because I shouldn't be in this spot and I shouldn't be in this spot going forward. So if you're like in a spot that you should be in, like at such a low frequency, it's a waste of energy to review it, or a spot you shouldn't be in at all because you made an enormous blunder on a previous street, then don't review the rest of the hand because you're just wasting your time. You've made such a big blunder. Just that's the bit you need to know. Right? Okay, I shouldn't have done this pre-flop. In this instance, I shouldn't have 3-bet this hand, and then I shouldn't have 3-bet the flop. So therefore, what is the point in looking at the rest of the hand? It's a total waste of time. On to the next one. We have the Queen 5 of Hearts in the big blind. Small blind opens. I'm really not very good in these blind v blind spots. It's an area of my game that needs a lot of work. I'm going to do quite a few blind v blind in position drills over the coming days to try and get better at it. With our hand here, we are supposed to just pure call. Oh, we're in the game. That's exactly what I do. We flop 3 5s. Okay, so it's going to be hard to butcher this one would imagine. We call. Flops come down. 5, deuce, 5. Villain's supposed to check here 77% of the time. He goes with the 1/3 c-bet. And how do we respond with our Queen 5? We're supposed to call 32% and raise 64%. We go with call this time. And the turn is a 3 of diamonds. Villain now bets really big. Which he's meant to do at a very low frequency. He's meant to check here half the time, then mix between 33 and 50% the rest of the time. It's a very low frequency play from Villain. Queen 5 suited, our hand here, calls 83%, raises the rest of the time. I call again. River 7 of clubs. Villain here's only meant to check 28% of the time. He does find a big bet, which he is meant to do here just 7% of the time, apparently. But that's what he's done. And we are supposed to respond by just calling now, no raising. I wonder whether we should raise at some point here during this hand. And there are points to raise, but this isn't it. This isn't the time to do it. So we called, which Sova likes. And Villain had pocket aces. Unlucky, sir. Unlucky. On to the next one. We have the ace 5 of green. We open button. Small blind calls. Big blind folds. And we take a king deuce 5 flop. Villain's supposed to check range here, which he does. We're supposed to check back ourselves 60% of the time here. And I thought this being like a relatively dry board would be I guess if it's more rainbow or if it's like, yeah, it's not super dry, is it? There are some straight draws, some flush draws, etc. I guess King 7 Deuce Rainbow would be range betting, but maybe this board, it still looks relatively disconnected to me. So I presume this would be a range bet at decent frequency. I don't know what I did in the hand, but I presume this would be a range bet a lot of the time. S5 of diamonds here specifically is betting, mixing its sizes and not doing a lot of checking. I didn't check him back. So why did I think I thought this would be a range bet then check back? I don't know. You might just be drunk, Reg. Check back from me. Turn 5 of diamonds. Villain now checks. We just have a pure bet now, one would imagine. Well, apparently ace 5 of diamonds. Oh, I've got ace 5 of clubs at me, sorry, ignore me. Wow. Now we're just checking back 80% of the time. So I don't, I bet. Villain calls. What size are we going to give ourselves there? To go with that one. So I'm butchering this one. I'm butchering it. I'm doing things. I've done that on the flop, low frequency check back, which is what we found on the turn, low frequency bet. So we're like in the game in solver world, but I'm relatively confident that I'm doing this. Uh, excuse me, that I'm doing this at frequencies that the solver doesn't like. Because fair enough, like we're allowed to do what I've done in this hand at a frequency. I'm saying I'm doing both these things at way too high of a frequency. So what happened there? Small blind checked. We bet that. And then the river is 9 of clubs. Um, he checks. And what are we meant to do? With our ace 5. We are meant to mix between half pot and 3/4 pot. Which we get the 3/4 pot. We'll now check raises. Okay, then. We He checks. We find the bet, and now he raises. We're going to say to this size here, slightly out, but never mind. And then with our ace 5, we fold 85% of the time and call 11% of the time. I did call this time. So everything I've done in this hand is in there, all at low frequency. And of course, people had a flush because it's a river raised at the micro stakes. Of course, they have the fucking nuts. So everything I've done there is theoretically okay, but I've done everything at frequencies that are just incorrect. So even though, like, even though the solver isn't saying I blundered, I think I have blundered there because of the frequencies I know I'm doing things at, and nothing like the frequencies the solver's doing them at. So I'm going to mark that one down as a big L for me in terms of how well I played the hand. On to the next one. This one's we're not going to be able to review this in Solver. I did review this on the Facebook group and I thought it was interesting, but we can't use Solver this, so we'll quickly whip through it. We open. This player had 3-bet me. This second time he 3-bet me in the session. Second time he'd used from out of position. Second time he'd used like a highly inappropriate size. This normally would be a fold versus a 3-bet in this configuration, but against this size, it can never be a fold, of course. Villain C-bet's half pot. I pinned my hat on the fact we've got the ace of diamonds. Most people would say fold this flop, and I think most people are fucking correct. But I just thought this guy's bad. He's clearly bad. He's clearly making like quite a few mistakes. He has to be. His 3-bet size pre that he's done twice is a enormous fundamental error. So who knows how many more mistakes he's making. So that I'm just not ready to fold yet in position against a player who's clearly making enough mistakes. And my idea was just like try and take the pot away. But if he starts checking, just start bluffing basically, or maybe make a hand and get it to showdown. So I did call. Turning the king of diamonds. He now checks. So he's 3-bet small pre, C-bet half pot. He's checking the king. It's not a very strong line he's taking. I thought we could steal this pot at this point. Who knows what? I had no idea what he's got that does this because it doesn't make any sense what he's doing. But I'm just basically just trying to steal a pot now. We go for a bet. He calls. River's the 8 of diamonds. He wakes up and just does that. I'm like, what are you now talking about, mate? You're saying you've got a flush, which maybe you have, but I've got the ace. The king's out there. So now you're saying you've 3-bet like a suited queen, like queen 10, queen jack. You're not repping very much, are you? Basically, repping queen 10, queen jack of diamonds. That's about it. And then who knows what else you're repping. But probably can't. If I go all in here, which you end up doing, my theory here was he could only call with a flush. I think he only has maybe 2 flushes. Maybe he's got 10-9 of diamonds, things like that as well, but not many flushes here. And I think he just has to fold a lot of hands that aren't a flush. But then again, another part of me thought, is this just a mega fucking punt? Because the guy's just donked 2/3 pot river when a flush gets there. How often is he folding? Um, I decided we had like a close to mandatory bluff because we have the ace of diamonds. This could be a massive punt from me, but he folded, and I felt like a fucking genius. On to the next hand that hopefully we can review properly. We open the aces. You get called from the big blind, so we are in the cutoff. We've opened. Big blind has defended with call, and we get a 10 of spades, jack of diamonds, 3 of diamonds flop. Villain checks. We are supposed to bet this flop just 48% of the time. Our aces without a diamond. What's that doing? Ace of spades, ace of hearts is checking just 38%. I go with around 60% pot, which 50%'s in there. It's close enough. It's a big blind check. We're going to have to go with 50 here. And villain check raises. And I keep farting. So villain's basically 3x check raised here, hasn't he? So that's going to be that for all intents and purposes. And aces here, they all just continue with pretty much pure call, which is what I did. Turn is an offsuit deuce. Small blinds big blinds meant to start checking again here at a decent frequency. He doesn't. He bets pretty big. We do have some raises, some aces now, which aces I like in the raise. Ace. Our hand likes. Does our hand like raise? Am I looking at the wrong thing here? Our hand likes call and all in, so we can do either. I mean, I'm just not going to go all in here. I suspect we call. And the river is 3 of hearts. Villain now shuts down. Fuck, I meant to do this. Villain now shuts down and checks. And you've already seen what I do. I decide to go all in. Yeah. That's what we're supposed to do. So happy days. Well played, Reg. I wasn't sure if we were just like missing value here because Villain ended up folding. And I wasn't sure if I was being too greedy there with the all in. But Sober likes it, so that'll do for me. On to the next one. How many more have we got left here? Sadly, we've only got 2 more left, and I've got some more time to kill, so never mind. Ace, Queen, off suit. We 3-bet versus middle position from the button, which is obviously completely normal. And then under the gun calls. And we take a ace of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, king of hearts flop. Villain checks as he's meant to with his entire range. And we're supposed to bet our entire range here, or nearly. It's nearly a pure range bet spot, of course. Ace queen off. Our particular suits are is wanting to find 1/3 bet here sometime, most of the time, and 50% the rest of the time. It's a pretty standard spot. I go with slightly smaller than 1/3. I tend to just go a quarter most of the time in 3-bet pots. Don't know why, it's just something I do. I haven't really got a good reason for it, but that's what I do. But we're going to have to choose 1/3 here because we're not given the option of 1/4. So I'd probably stop doing this 1/4 thing. And villain calls. Turn is an 8 of diamonds. We have the queen of diamonds, not the ace of diamonds. Villain's still meant to be checking his entire range here, which he does. What are we doing with that? Ace queen off with the queen of diamonds. We are checking 32% and mixing mostly 50 and 75%. I went with the check, which is fine because the check is in there. And the river is the ace of clubs. Villain checks again, and now it's just a matter of what size are we meant to bet. And what sizes are available to us. We're meant to bet here again, mixing between 35% and 60%. What did Reg do? Yeah, Reg went 60%. That's all good. And Villain falls. Yes, I'm not really sure why that one's in front of you. Don't think I did anything particularly bad in it. Yeah, it's in there. Don't really know why. Maybe I'm just checking my turn strategy because what are we meant to do here when we have a diamond? What are we meant to do when we don't have a diamond? So yeah, that was that one. So on to the last hand of the video. King out of diamonds. Open cut off. Small blind call. Hopefully the big blind doesn't call because then it will just boot me out and say no, Reg. Stop asking me to solve things that I don't have solutions for. Jack 10 8. Villain checks. That we're not supposed to bet this very often at all. I already knew that. It's just not a board that we're going to range bet on. So I do check back. So when does this spot get interesting? Turn 4 of spades. I marked the wrong hand here. Villain now donks. He's meant to check 70%. He is meant to have some donks. But for this size, very low frequency. But he's done what he's done. What size are we going to give him here? Give him half pot. With our king 8 of diamonds. We are just pure calling, of course. Which is what I did. Why is this hand even in here? Queen of spades river. Villain checks. I think this is in because I think I'm about to bluff. And do we ever turn our hand into a bluff here? I guess that's what we're looking at. So check. Does king 8 of diamonds turn itself into a bluff here? Fucking does it. Our hand here checks 20%. Then it just bets a lot. Does a lot of betting. Does a lot of like 150% and a little bit. So at 50, like half the time here, it bets 150% of the pot. Another 25% of the time here, it just goes all in. So it's basically checking or over betting. And I genuinely thought that's what we're meant to do here. Let's see if I did it. Yeah, I did go with overbet. Fucking Reg. I didn't quite get the size correct. I've gone almost 2x pot. But that doesn't really matter. I'm just really pleased I've found this overbet because so often I would just have checked back in and like, well, we have a little bit of showdown value, blah 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 blah, all that bullshit that we always convince ourselves when we haven't got the balls to bluff. So yeah, really happy with that. We did find it. I don't care what happens. I don't care if we get called. I'm really happy that we found the bluff, and Villain did fold. So yeah, nice. I enjoyed doing that. Hopefully some of you guys enjoyed watching it. My videos don't do very well these days. I'm clearly not playing the algorithm very well. My videos used to do way, way better back in the day than they do now. I mean, I don't think I'm any more boring than I used to be. So I think I'm just not playing the YouTube game very well in terms of like conquering the algorithm. But please, if you have got this final video and you've enjoyed it, please do leave a comment. That usually helps. Leave a comment, hit a like, share it. Please just do all that stuff, because I mean, I'm never going to monetize YouTube. I mean, I don't get the views to do it. It's not worth it. It is just a hobby. And then maybe sometimes I like to be able to point people to it. If anyone ever asks me to help them with their game, or if ever I decide I want to do a little bit of like low level coaching with players who are significantly worse than me on the cheap, I like to have like something I can refer them to. Yeah, this is me. This is who I am. This is what the kind of, it's how I think about poker. It's how I approach poker. So I like to keep the channel going. But I would like to see myself get a few more views. So if I don't, it's not a big deal. But yeah, I'm doing a shit job of conquering the YouTube algorithm. So yeah, please do hit a like if you got this far and you haven't done it yet. Please do comment if you got this far and haven't done it yet. And yes, for the rest of the month, well, no, by the time you see it, it's going to be September time. Next video is going to be a review of the month. Spoiler alert, it's been quite a good one. And yeah, see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Oh, hang on. Fuck the Tories. And take care, everybody. And bye-bye for now.